Hello, everyone. We are going to be stirring up an appetite with this conversation, and then you shall go out and satisfy that appetite. But first, I want to welcome Padma to flying over from New York to LA to be with us today. And I think we need to take a moment in the global context in which we find ourselves. You, through your shows, discuss light and the dark, and the highs and the lows, and the emotional and the not. And so at this moment, when we're thinking of people wanting to learn about business and be excited about what's to come, there is also a pain, a weight on the world right now with what's happening with Israel and Hamas. How much do you feel that in these moments with your audience, you have to respond to that? Is it something that you're also feeling and empathizing, I'm sure, with many of your audience?
Well, I mean, most of all, I'm feeling really sad about what's happening. Like many of us, you know, we feel helpless. And I don't think everybody needs to comment on everything. And I feel like I certainly don't. We were, you know, people kept saying, aren't you going to say anything? Aren't you going to say anything? And it's difficult because you also don't want to muddy the waters. And it's easy to get caught up in all of that, and of course it's atrocious what's happened, and it's one of those issues that's really hard to talk about, especially online and short format in social media, because anything you say is going to be, you know, a platitude, and if you express empathy for one group, that means, you know, you're an anti-Semite. If you express empathy for the horrible, horrible thing that's happened right now, then you don't believe that, you know, these people over here, the Palestinians, should have a homeland. I think it's very complex, but I also think that you just say something simple that you know you really believe in, and so if someone comes at you about it, you can defend it, and then you move on. Because I'm not a politician, I'm not a policymaker, I certainly am not even from the Middle East. So as a bystander, as a parent, I'm very scared because it's a loss of human life in an area that suffered so much. And considering what's going on in Ukraine, I think it's also got the real potential to escalate and spread. We're seeing the rise of fascism in a lot of the world, and we're also seeing people who are trying to just maintain their everyday lives in the face of something that's so horrific and so unprecedented. You know, I can't imagine what those families are going through. I'm thinking of them more than the geopolitical ramifications, although obviously as a thinking person, I think about those too. I think we want to be careful.
And I think you, within your work, particularly Taste the Nation, we know you for a top chef, we know, and the way in which you have brought food storytelling to us as an audience. Now you have started to, in a way, do that fine line of political divide, religious divide, cultural divide, but try and tell it through storytelling through food. And I'm interested as to what made you decide, this is the story I want to tell right now, having been a producer, understood what it takes to be that person who can present in that fact as well.
Well, I mean, I came to do Taste the Nation after working with the ACLU for 5 or 6 years on immigrant issues, and I'm an immigrant myself. And so I felt, in that case, unlike commenting on what's going on over there, I felt I had a very fully formed opinion. And I felt like I had a lived experience that allowed me to take on the subject, as well as learning from human rights lawyers at the ACLU and familiarizing myself with other immigrant communities. And so, yes, Taste the Nation is really a political show. You know, it's just disguising.
Did you mean it to be?
Yes, it's very, yes. I mean, I meant for you to see and not see everything you saw and not saw in Taste the Nation. I mean, as much as I am in front of the camera on that show, most of the work that I do on that show is behind the camera, with our stories, with our episode producers, with our research, writing the, you know, voiceover, all of it. And I think that's been a real gift, to be able to hone muscles I didn't know I had, didn't know I wanted. And it's very gratifying. It's always really a privilege, and you just feel so lucky to be able to have an interest and a keen passion about something, and then actually be able to do it at work at the level that you want to do. And I think that to me has been the greatest gift that Top Chef has given me, because I would never have Taste the Nation if I hadn't helped build Top Chef. And while Taste the Nation may be more aligned with my own interests or my own vision or taste level, Top Chef is also something that I'm really proud of as far as what we've done in television and what we've done in food, and also what we've done just to affect how a generation of young people around the world, not just in America, think about their food. And I think they're much more knowledgeable, let's say, than I was at their age.
And thinking about how you've brought your narrative to bear, whether it be through television, then thinking, okay, well, it's a streaming product as well. And what goes into that viewpoint of this is the way in which this is the conduit to which I'm going to be telling my story?
Well, I think people are used to me speaking the language of food. That's what the viewing public in television is used to hearing me speak about. So it's sort of a bait and switch. You know, I'm giving you this beautiful, delicious, sensuous-looking food, but then the person who made it has something to say. And Taste the Nation is really about giving my platform to people to tell their stories as they see fit. Of course, me and my team are there to help them shape it, and it's only a 30-minute show, so much winds up on the cutting room floor. But it's really about giving communities that have never had mainstream exposure and sort of an A-list treatment like that, that's what we strive to do. And I always wanted to do that because I think those stories are interesting. And I think they're interesting for other people in this country.
How do you go and sell those stories? Whose ear do you need to gravitate towards or call towards you to say it needs to go on Hulu and it needs to go on in this particular manner, and how?
How do I sell it? Well, I mean, I do a lot of things like this, but I mean, not that much, but I think good programming finds its way. I mean, I sell it through building my social media platform. Like, I enjoy social media, but I don't have something to say every day, but I have to post every day. And so I'm learning how to do that.
Does that frustrate you?
It's time consuming.
Yeah.
Listen, for me, social media has been a very, very effective tool, not only to tell you about books that I've written or shows that I'm passionate about, but also to do my advocacy work.
Yes.
Whether it's with the United Nations or ACLU or Planned Parenthood or whatever. So for me, it was a megaphone that allowed me to talk about women's reproductive health. It was a megaphone that let me find my audience. I think it's really good for that because it's a way for you to communicate directly with the people who you think are your potential audience.
And then many monetize that audience. Have you ever thought about it being more than the deal you do with?
Yeah, I mean, every once in a while, of course, I will do a brand partnership with, Kind Bars or Boursin Cheese or, whatever. But I don't really do them very often. And it's hard to turn them down, It is. I'm a working person and, I'm
with a daughter and
with a daughter and a life that I want to keep up, of course, and employees I'm responsible for. But I try not to do too many of them. And I try to do the ones that I would anyway say, hey, this is so delicious for free. Because I think I want to make sure that when people come to my Instagram or whatever, that they know that they're not being tried to be sold something all the time. And everybody gets it. They know. It's like, oh, she's got to deal with Kind. And it's fine if you just do it in an authentic way. Not, I hate that word, but like, just do it in an honest way and be clear about it. But even when I put a beautiful, juicy trailer of Taste the Nation on my feed, sometimes it doesn't do well at all. And I'm always shocked because, of course, I've tinkered with the whole show so much. I've been in the editing room, I've been in the color correction and all this stuff, but it's because it has this big, giant Hulu branding on it. And so people are like, oh, it's just a commercial. So I think people now are super sensitized to it. And, I'm not an influencer. I have a day job. Like, my job is making television and writing books or magazine articles, or usually books these days. But I started out as a features writer as well.
So go into what is asked of you. to produce Taste the Nation? I mean, how hands-on are you?
Oh my
how
God.
have you had to span the gambit of all the kind of...
Oh, I'm very hands-on. I mean, I host the show, but way before I host the show, my producing partner, David, and I decide on what communities we're going to. And then we assign teams of producers for each of those communities. And we're in pre-production for a good 3 months. There's a lot of research that goes into our stories. And we just don't go into immigrant homes or immigrant communities and then you learn about them and then rinse and repeat. Every episode also has a theme, whether it's, colonial self-hatred or internalized colonialism or food sovereignty or, how do I answer people who say that immigrants are only a drain on our economy? Well, I answer them by going to meet Cambodian Americans in Lowell, Massachusetts. And so all of that, we get those stories, we do the casting. Obviously, my show's really heavily casted because finding the right participants who can communicate their story is hard. I mean, most of the people you see on Taste the Nation, unless they're a big chef or something, they've never been on camera, they're not media trained, but they do have a compelling story to tell. And so once we get that cast, we go out there. I usually embed myself in each community for about a week. And some of that is doing B-roll around the city and stuff. But
B-roll being video.
being
right audience
atmospheric shots of streets and details. And then so there's a team in pre-production, a team on location with me, and another team doing post-production to tell the editors what we saw, what we got, and I just kind of ping-pong between them. But along with my producing partner and some other producers, I go to every color correction because I'm very particular about how food looks on camera. Mm-hmm. And food can just not look appetizing. All you have to do is take it from one light to another, from inside to out, and it changes completely. So color correction and sound mixing is super important to me because I want to make sure we also preserve the cooking sounds because I really think people eat. Eating is such a sensuous, sensorial experience. And I want, even though you can't taste the food on our show or any show, I want you to imagine you can taste it because of what you're hearing and what you're seeing and how all of us there are experiencing it. That is my job. And to use that food to tell bigger stories. So I do everything. I do the floors and the windows on Taste the Nation. I write the voiceover, and I have tons of help from very curious and dedicated producers. I will say that one of the greatest things that happened to me, I don't know if this is too much in the weeds of television, but after the first season came out, we got so many letters from people who just wanted to work on the show. And that's always
letters, not emails?
Joy. Well, emails, yes, emails. And also we get a lot of letters from teachers who say that they showed Taste the Nation to their middle school, high school, elementary school, college, university courses also, because they say that it's better than what you can get in most textbooks about Native Americans, about different communities, about Japanese internment in this country. And hopefully I'm doing it in a way that's fun and entertaining.
Yes.
And you picked up on it earlier. That is the trick for me, to give you a lot of serious content that we think is important for everybody to know, but do it in a way that also doesn't take ourselves too seriously and has a light touch, and also talk about the joys of being in this community and all the ways that they have transcended their beginnings.
How, therefore, do you measure success? Is it by letters? Is it by, well, it's certainly not the Instagram that you post, whether it's got Hulu branding on it and people don't digest it as much as you hoped?
I measure success by how proud I am of the show, first and foremost. I'm making Taste the Nation because I wanted to watch a show like that. And for a long time, I really didn't know if anyone else did, because we pitched it to 6 or 7 networks, and they all turned it down. And so when we finally talked to Hulu, I was pretty browbeaten by then. I was like, maybe no one likes it, just me. And luckily for me, they really saw what I wanted to do. I think people thought it was going to be a lifestyle show, and I love those shows too, by the way. But I just didn't, at this point in my life and my career growth, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to do something that was more meaningful for me, and also that used all of the things I had learned, in advocating for immigrants with ACLU.
And what have you learned from other people in the industry? How helpful, how welcoming, how unwelcoming has it been?
I mean, I learned a lot from David, my co-producer, because he started as a director and now he has a production company. But he's taught me a lot about how to ask questions and how to also shoot something. I mean, when I get a break, I want to take a camera class, because whenever the camera guys are like, give me a 200, give me a 60, I'm like, what does that mean? And it's all different lenses, and that would be my next frontier that I'd like to conquer, because I think it's part of my job as a filmmaker to know that. I have learned so much. I learned so much from Sue Polino, who is our sound engineer and is just a wizard. And I never knew how much I would nerd out at just tinkering with sound, but I love it. And so I'm having the best time at work on Taste the Nation. It takes me 3 times as long to make than Top Chef. It's way more complex, but I love every minute of it. And so I will measure success when I get another season. That will be another measure of success. And Taste the Nation is also nominated for an Emmy. That's a way to measure success, which I'm very happy about. We're in some very stiff competition there. I think the list is quite impressive.
Well, congratulations on the nomination.
Thank you.
And thank you for talking us through just how much you do on the show.
Thank you.
I want to thank Padma Lakshmi for this great conversation. Thank you. And before you go, I'm pretty sure you're hungry. I'm certainly having looked at some of the exquisite pictures that you brought us from the show. It is time for a lunch break. So do all go outside, go grab some lunch. There's incredible food trucks and chefs that are outside. But do bring that food back if you'd like, because there's going to be a chance to watch in on a live podcast that's being recorded. Of course, The Town, Lucas Shaw's going to be here. So we'll pick up promptly 2 p.m. Issa Rae is going to be here live and in the flesh. But go satisfy your hunger. And thank you again, Padma.
Thank you.